Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Emiliano McLean. I'm actually my new position as a research scientist associate. No, that's okay. I'm at the New Mexico State University Agricultural Science Center in Farmington. I did list our website down at the bottom for anybody. I'm not going to go into complete depth in the science center, but there's our website if you want to check it out. Mm, a second. Okay, a little bit about me, real quick, is I'm an enrolled member of the Timucua Tribe of Western Shoshone. I'm also a descendant of the Tapalon Nation and Nomalaki tribes of the Grand Valley Indian Reservation on my father's side. I received my Bachelor's of Science in Agricultural Science, Communication, and Leadership from the University of Idaho, and minored in Agricultural Business, Leadership, and Education. And then just recently received my Master's of Arts in Agriculture and Extension Education from New Mexico University. And my thesis project was titled "Integrating Agrivoltaics in the Navajo Nation: A Synthesis of Research, Community Perceptions, and Demonstration of Agrivoltaics in the Four Corners region." And that was just published to ProQuest on Monday or Tuesday, I believe. So if you have ProQuest, you can check that out on there. So I'll begin with starting off what is agrivoltaics. So it pretty much is agricultural photovoltaics, the combination of photovoltaics, otherwise known as solar infrastructure, pretty much intercropped with agricultural systems. And I'll talk about the different kind of agricultural systems here in a moment. So we're just combining those two systems and placing them together, making beneficial use of the land underneath solar panels by integrating agricultural practices. And here's just kind of and if you want about some of these images, I didn't create. Some of the pictures are mine, some of them are not. And I did put the websites down at the bottom. If you're interested in those later, you can always email me. Have my email at the end if you want more where I got some of these images from. So it's a food, energy, water system nexus where, again, you're placing the crops underneath solar panels, and then you're using the electricity to either power your homes, community, if you have a large enough arrays, or, kind of food processing facilities. And then also, it can improve the microclimate underneath there, crop protection. I'll talk a little bit about later. And then in some cases, it actually increases the yield of the crop. And then with water use, you can either collect the water, or in general, it helps moderate the water use underneath solar panels. And I'll talk about that here a little bit more in the presentation. So again, it is a food, energy, water system. So some of the benefits of agrivoltaics is the expansion of solar farms. So with placing agriculture underneath, I put a picture of sheep because it's the Navajo Nation, and when I first got into this program, that's actually was the plan, was to place sheep, but that was kind of a larger project, and so I decided being involved in plant science. I went ahead and started with intercropping crops underneath there, and I'll talk a little bit more about my research. And then here, not just with animals, you got just like the sheep herding dog, but you also with humans as well. It helps protect the humans and different kind of crops. And so we're pretty much making beneficial use of the space underneath the solar panels, and in a way, it kind of combats global warming. There's a synthesis, and I'll use on the next slide. I'll talk about that, the beneficial relationships that plants and the solar panels have. And then there's economic development, where in some cases you might not be actually making income off the solar that you're generating, the solar energy. You're offsetting the energy use, and therefore lowering your power bills and putting more money into your pocket. And then off-grid sustainability. So for the Navajo Nation, the big subject why this project was so important was the off-grid sustainability. It's kind of a known fact in the Four Corners region and other places that the Navajo Nation has about approximately 14,000 homes without electricity. And so this is a kind of project geared towards those kind of small scale off-grid systems. And then workforce development. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but as we're seeing the closing down of power plants in the region, we want to be able to supplement those jobs with new kind of training that I'll be mentioning as well. So this is kind of what it looks like. So it's beneficial for the soil for like regenerative agriculture because it reduces the soil disturbance, and then it helps with kind of like carbon sequestration, leaving the organic matter in underneath the solar panels, and that's kind of one of the cons as well with solar, is that it does restrict the equipment, so it's not total positive, but it does give space for the soil to be able to stabilize, and also kind of reduces erosion by keeping the roots in there and not kind of requiring more of a non-till production of agriculture underneath there. And so again, this also allows for intercropping. I have a picture that'll be shown as well. There's a solar farm. So most of the systems right now that I've seen integrate intercropping, so planting methods underneath there, where they're doing multiple crops. And for the Navajo Nation, from my observance of going out around the reservation, there's a lot of farmers that do intercrop with different kind of crops, and then placing animals underneath there. So a reason why it's kind of important and to the Navajo Nation specifically, and the reason why I chose to go with intercropping as a main topic in my further research. And then also, it talks a little bit about pest and disease spread. So with the intercropping as well, some of the projects that we're going to be looking at, we're putting in pollinator plants that bring in beneficial insects, and then different kind of crops that kind of push out pests. So intercropping underneath these solar panels, because they don't allow for certain kind of equipment. Also helps with that workforce development also, because we need more people to work with these kind of systems. And so relative advantage, pretty much what makes these systems kind of better than monocrop systems that we see today. As I mentioned earlier, there is a beneficial relationship where there was a study actually in Oregon that was done that showed that solar panels by themselves increase temperatures 10 to 15 degrees. And so when you put plants underneath the solar panels, they actually, it only raises the temperature between 1 to 3 degrees. So as you can see in the image here, you got that direct sun coming down, hitting plants and the soil, and it's heating it up. And then when you have the solar panels by themselves, kind of the same thing, the sun's going directly onto the panels, onto the metal, and it's heating it up. So the beneficial relationship that happens is when you put the plants underneath, the evapotranspiration, the water that's released from the plants and from the soil as well, it actually helps cool down the panels. And so the electricity flows more efficiently at lower temperatures. So this is beneficial to the systems as a whole. And again, even if you're not generating income off the power that's generated, you're offsetting your energy use. So one of the as I talk about my research a little later, one of the things that we're looking at is like the heat stress physiology on plants and animals, and placing them underneath solar panels, photovoltaic panels. Kind of want to. That's kind of the future research that we'll be looking at, and I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But for right now, the relative advantage compared to monocrops, kind of agriculture systems that do not have any kind of shade, it helps protect the plants, the animals, and the soils. And then it also enhances the climate resilience, allows for more shade tolerant plants. And so that is, again, one of the restrictions. There's a few cons that people may ask about with different kind of plants. So, but it is more beneficial for shade tolerant plants. And when I go into my research, I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So I wanted to talk about the history. So many people say, okay, when was this first conceptualized? When was this first thought of? So there's a German scientist, Adolf Gutzberger, I believe how you say it. he and another scientist, his name's on the next slide, they did a publication in 1982. So they probably started conceptualizing this probably in the late 70s, early 80s. And he was that first one to kind of come up with the word agricultural photovoltaics. There's other words such as solar farming or dual farm use. There is in different countries. They have different kind of sayings, but for here in the United States, it's generally referred to as agrivoltaics. And there's some little more information about him. He started his work in California, in Palo Alto, in the Silicon Valley, and then did his studies out there in Germany. So he's credited with being like the pioneer of conceptualizing the idea of agrivoltaics. So then there was another gentleman, I couldn't find a picture of him, but so him and the other gentlemen, they're the ones that wrote the first paper that came out into the International Journal of Solar Energy in 1982. So they created this image, this portrait is the first picture that we know of agrivoltaics. So it's just really simple, placing crops underneath solar panels. And then for the implementation, so those two gentlemen were the first to kind of come up again with the word agrivoltaics, solar farming in the sense of growing intercropping, plants underneath. But it was this gentleman out of Japan who first started implementing the systems in the early 2000s. So, and Japan, since it's a landlocked country, it has been making a lot more progress than the United States. As of 2020, I couldn't find any more recent news about it. But as of 2020, there's approximately 3,500 agrivoltaic farms, 872 hectares. And then they also have these feed-in tariff policies that help farmers kind of subsidize for equipment, which is kind of another con of the systems is that the infrastructure itself can be expensive. So that's kind of this is what it looks like in Japan. Again, a landlocked country, so it is fairly important to their countries. So there is different kind of systems. I just want to kind of give some examples. A lot of people ask like, what kind of systems do they have to be fixed? No, there's systems that sit on the ground. There's systems that are they call vertical solar fencing that are kind of act as a fence, and then there's these ones that we'll be using the top right corner for our research, where they're adjustable, so you can move the panels around, and I'll share a little bit more why that's important. But these are some examples of different kind of systems that people are using for agricultural photovoltaics. So we'll get into the research. So again, most of the research has been on shade-tolerant plants. Again, agrivoltaics mimics agroforestry. Therefore, finding out which plants kind of grow naturally underneath forest systems is what has been being researched mostly. And like the picture I showed, we want to be able to move the panels. What we're trying to do is find the optimal height and the optimal spacing of the solar array systems. So we want to be able to raise them and spread them out to see what kind of crops grow better. And then so that's kind of the gist of it for I guess for the research. But there is a lot of perception studies being done, a lot of cost analysis that are being done, and then also regional work. And that's where my research kind of comes into play. I'm at the Agricultural Science Center there in Farmington. So this is 220 active acres that we have in research. We have 6 different plots, and then we are on the Navajo Nation. We're the only science center from an 1862 land grant institution that's located on a sovereign nation, the Navajo Nation. And then we came up in the late 60s and started doing research to help get NAPI started. So our mission is to do research, demonstration, educational programs that not only assist the agriculture communities of the San Juan County, but also the Navajo Nation in the Four Corners region, hence the title of my project. My first, well, I did three manuscripts as part of my project. The first one was a literature review. So pretty much showing that there has been no studies performed in the Navajo Nation or in the Four Corners, anything related to agrivoltaics. There was a paper done by Carly Moore last year, and she was able to show that there's land available on the Navajo Nation that's suitable for agrivoltaics, but there has been no other studies that have been conducted on agrivoltaics in the Navajo Nation. Um, in place. So that was my first manuscript. For the second manuscript, we wanted to go out to the Navajo Nation and we wanted to ask the community what their insights were, what how they faced, what did they think about agrivoltaics, and did they even knew what it was. And I'll go ahead and discuss that. So this portrait, I believe I have the map on the next page or one of the next pages. Um, but I'll talk about that a little later. So the questions that I had as part of my research is in section 14, agrivoltaics, and it's part of a publication by Brandon Francis, who's a lab manager now at the New Mexico State Agricultural Science Center in Farmington. And his manuscript is called The Four Corners Indigenous Farm Assessment, and he looked at controlled environment agriculture and the COVID-19 impacts on Navajo farmers in the San Juan River Valley. So this is kind of just a map I made. I just overlapped it with the outline of the Navajo Nation and then the San Juan River Valley. So the headwaters of the confluence is up there in around Farmington. It starts up there. La Plata, the Animas, these rivers, they flow into the San Juan, and they run through the northern part of the Navajo Nation to Lake Powell. So it does encompass a lot of the northern part of the Navajo Nation. But we also got permission from we got permission from the Northern Agency, Western Agency, and Eastern Agency. The only agency we didn't get was Chinle Agency. So again, our objective was to assess the interest, experience, and capacity for implementing agrivoltaics of indigenous farmers in the San Juan River Valley of the Navajo Nation. So just a quick kind of I guess a caption. So we did get RB approval not only from New Mexico State, but we also went to the Navajo Nation Human Research Review Board, working with Dr. Coletta Chief and then my supervisor, Dr. Kevin Lombard. And so we did go out to, this is an event that I went to at NAPI during one of our harvest events. And so we did put up signs and take surveys. Most of the surveys we did have to go out and go to individual homes, but we collected names and phone numbers and we did a lot of house visits. So this is kind of like just kind of showing that we did get permission before we went out and got permission to do the survey. So we used a software called Qualtrics, where we went out with the iPad pretty much, and we either help people walk through them. Some people did go ahead and take it on their own. They just took the iPad and took the survey without us being involved. But we did it was a 10 to about 40-minute survey that was over 100 questions. So that's what we used to collect the survey results. And so we were aiming between 114 to 300 participants. We're able to get 126 participants. These numbers don't add up to 126. But again, we got Eastern Agency, Fort Defiance Agency, Western Agency, Northern Agency, and we did get resolutions from the Navajo Nation, and we were approved to do our study in these communities. But so some of the people that did respond weren't within the community, so we couldn't accept those responses. So that's why this doesn't total up to 126. And then some people actually didn't mark where they were from. And again, the responses were optional. We didn't provide any kind of incentives. And we went to chapter house meetings. We went to different events and collected signatures to get approval. We had a consent form. And so this is how many we were able to receive. So for my project, I had 8 questions, and I'm going to go over the questions here. So this kind of just outlines what they are. But the next part, I'll go ahead and go through each question. So, so the things that we have strong interest in renewable energy. So two of the questions asked people if they had any interest in placing solar panel or renewable energy photovoltaics on their property in general. And these two questions are separated. So I kind of find it interesting that we did get the same amount of respondents to the two different questions that were interested. And then the next question asked if they had any interest in placing solar panels onto their farm, and we both of those questions we got the same number of respondents saying yes and saying no. So with that, we found that there's a high willingness for participants, for farmers of the Navajo Nation to explore solar onto their property and onto their farms. The next two questions, we asked participants if they had any experience working with solar. Only 12% of them said yes. And then we asked people if they would be able to manage the solar system on their own, and 40% of them said yes. So with this, we felt that there was limited prior experience, but the community had confidence in their ability to able to manage the systems on their own. So that was positive on here. For that question four, when people answered no, we asked them if they didn't have the experience of and didn't feel as though they can manage their solar energy on their own, if they would be open to receive training on solar energy systems. And so 75% of those respondents who said no said that they would be open to receiving training. So with that, the theme was that there is a need for training and for technical support with the respondents that we received. The next question was, we asked the participants if they had ever even heard of agrivoltaics. Only 60% of them said yes. So when we gave them a short explanation of what agrivoltaics was, and if they had any kind of, or if they were still interested after they learned more about it, 88% of the respondents said yes.
Right.
So, and for the last question, we asked if they were able to grow the same crops that they were currently growing in an agrivoltaic system, would they do so? And 89% of them said yes. So that thing for us was that there is a potential for people to adopt agrivoltaics. And so, yeah, the overall thing that we found is there was a need for education and outreach. So we want to bridge that gap with the low awareness of what agrivoltaics is. That kind of projected what I'd be doing into the future, and getting extension services out there on agrivoltaics, but also the need for capacity building initiatives and developing a training center, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. So yeah, so again, bridging knowledge gaps. We understand that the perceptions of Navajo farmers on agrivoltaics is low, and that we have challenge of educating the community on what agrivoltaics is and how they can implement the systems onto their farms, and then with that. What we want to do with our project as well is support education policies as well as like governmental policies, and that's what we're going to use this research for. And so we can hopefully bring this eventually, the results, to maybe talk to somebody in the government and see how we can, put in a policy where we can help farmers initiate agrivoltaic systems onto their farms. And so there is a value of feasibility studies, and what I was kind of say is the government kind of has a long history of telling indigenous communities what they need. And so by having this study, we got to, ask community, hey, is there any kind of interest in it? And then with that, we'll be able to further our research, or even initiating implementation of the agrivoltaic systems in the Navajo Nation. And then with that also, we want to be with that information, we can further continue our trials with different kind of crops as well. Looking at the fact that participants said that yes, they'd be interested in pursuing these systems with their current crops. So that way, when we start our field trials, we can look at crops that the Navajo Nation is already using. So yeah, and so for future work that we want to do is economic feasibility analysis, and then training, capacity building, and then path to sustainable integration. So we want to be able to we want to be able to focus on practical scales of agrivoltaic systems. So that'll kind of go into what I'm going to be talking about next. And then with the system that we actually are building for training. So we want to be able to create the system that is applicable to people that are interested, that are small scale, that we can help train them on, and then as well as have more information to provide to the community about the economic visibility, and show how much we can help with kind of putting the systems together at a low cost. That's kind of a topic that's kind of always mentioned, is the cost of it. So we want to be able to help people that are interested, Navajo farmers, in creating these systems and putting them together. So that goes into the next manuscript that I had as part of my thesis work, is the establishment of a small-scale agrivoltaic research and demonstration plan in the Navajo Nation. So this is what the Agricultural Science Center looks at from the front road. I like this picture because it shows Shiprock in the back, and it shows the Navajo Generation Station, and just kind of a strong picture here. So I just wanted to kind of show that, and so that's where we do all our research, is kind of behind the generating station behind Shiprock. So so with this project that I did for my last manuscript, I went ahead and built these agrivoltaic boxes. So I built 15 of them. 3 of them are control plots, and we used a randomized study. So that way there was no bias. And so we were kind of favoring the results. So we randomly selected where we placed these. So the location of this is also next to a greenhouse. So we would like to utilize the energy and put into the greenhouse. So that was another reason for wanting to move into agrivoltaics. And I'll kind of talk about the importance of why it's important to the Navajo Nation in general in a future slide. So what we did was we compared 4 different kind of solar panels. One was a greenhouse solar panel, and the rest were commercially available. 2 of them were from Amazon, and the other one was from Home Depot. So we did utilize a drip irrigation system in it. Again, we want to show that there's water moderation. But unfortunately, with the project that we put on, the solar moisture instruments were faulty, so we were actually able to include that into my research, but we'll be able to use that in our future projects, what I'll be discussing shortly. And then we also did environmental monitoring. So you can see in these those wooden posts, they were measuring light intensity and temperature, and then we want to look at soil temperature later on as well. So again, this is all to inform us about the potential benefits of small-scale agrivoltaic systems and how they operate within the 4 corners. So I just want to show a little bit about our results, so this is pretty much saying that the light was actually better and the temperature was actually higher. So the higher light levels, higher temperatures, of course, underneath the plots that didn't have any kind of solar panels on top, and so which was kind of known. We were kind of more interested in the bright solar panels because they had a 50% transparency. So we thought these bright solar panels would have a higher levels of light intensity and light and temperature because they were 50% transparent. They allowed more light to come through, but the results of these showed that there was no increase, and so this one was kind of more obvious what was going to happen, that no solar panels would allow more light to come through and then more temperatures to come through. And why that is important is because they're key influencing in the plant growth underneath the solar panels, and so which leads to the yield that was the measurements that were taken for the yield. So with radishes, so radishes, we chose radishes because they're a very versatile plant. They're considered a cool season crop. And so we planted these in September, harvested in October. So they are like a short season crop. So it's a 46-day study, and there has been other studies with like Agrivoltaics and shades where where it was only a 40-day study. So that's the reason why we chose radishes, even though it's not particularly like a culturally valued crop of the Four Corners region. We wanted to start with something to begin with, and since I barely built the the demonstration plot in September and August and September, we wanted to put something underneath there to get some results to start with. So that's why we chose radishes. As you can see here, they actually outperformed underneath the control. So without the solar panels. So again, you have two different systems. You have crop production and energy production. And so we know that with we're not looking for 100% crop production underneath the solar panel, but we want to be able to show that we can get some kind of production underneath the solar panels that is going to kind of offset, you know, the efforts that are put in, the money that's put in to planting these crops underneath the solar panels. So this shows that there is significant yield that can be harvested from radishes underneath the solar panels. So this is what they look like. As you can see, the between the left and the right. So the left grow box does not have solar panels on it, and the one on the right. And so the one on the right actually looks like it has more growth on top. But as again, the slide earlier showed that we actually got higher yields from the boxes without the solar panels. And so these are what the radishes look like. So actually came out pretty good. And these are from a plot with the solar panels on it. So even though it was a less like yield, they still came out pretty good. And again, so we're using it as an educational tool. So for what they call technology transfer. So we want to be able to introduce to the community this technology. So we've already been doing tours. This was a group, I believe they were from Fort Lewis that came out. And so we've only had a couple groups so far come along and check out my solar agrivoltaic system. But we are starting to kind of start on the dissemination work. We just got our approval from the Navajo Nation Review Board to go ahead and start on dissemination, and which is one of the reasons why I'm able to do this presentation. And so for future research, we want to be able to plant the same crops within different growing seasons, and then also concentrate more on culturally valued crops of the Four Corners region. And this is what our system looks like right now. So we just put the fence around it because we do have dogs on the property, and so we are kind of building it. I'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to be doing next. But we do have a new crop underneath there. So right now we're actually growing the New Mexico State the Primavera peppers, and then we have some spinaches in the middle, and then we grew some cilantro on the other side. So we went ahead and harvested the cilantro right now, and it actually showed that there was no differences in and this was actually done by our new hire, Dr. Maria Chavez. She's an associate professor for the Agrivoltaics program. And so it did show that there was no differences in the yield of cilantro. And some people might say, well, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's actually a good thing because that's showing that even underneath the solar panels, you're still producing enough of that crop to be financially viable to place underneath there. And so you're not going to see a reduce in yield, reduce in income from placing certain crops underneath the solar panels. So this is what we're planning on doing. We did get receive funding. We've been working with the university to get these systems put in place. So this is what we're going to be putting inside the front of our science center. And then on the right-hand side is kind of an image that we received that I just found online on earth.org showing the system. This is kind of what we're looking to build out in the front of our science center. And then this is the blueprint of what we're going to be doing. So we're planning on putting a 26.5 kilowatt system, 50 solar panels at about 530 watts modules in front of our science center. And so then we can produce crops. We're going to hopefully be placing again culturally valued crops. I want to place blue corn, Navajo squash, Navajo tea, some peppers, and then some Hopi purple bean. And I kind of did a small study on that, but we didn't have the solar panels yet, so we'll be looking at that later. So the work that I've been doing right now is part of my dissemination, and we'll be talking about a future workshop. So I've been going out into the community and building these miniature agrivoltaic grow boxes. Working with Dene College mostly, but also this one that we did here at the Science Center. And so yeah, just trying to engage with the community and increase awareness basically. And then with these also we're getting feedback from participants on what they would like to see. And so I know I'm kind of getting short on time here, so I'm going to work through this a little more quickly. And why this is important, people might say, so what? So what's the importance of agrivoltaics? So as you can see, since pretty much since, after 2016, the increase in research has jumped. And 2022, it's tripled. And then the year between 2023 and 2024, it tripled again. And as of this year, as of 2025, when I looked this morning, there is 1,040 articles that have been published in Google Scholar, and so that number will most likely double, if not triple, before all the publications are put in by the end of 2025. And again, so why is agrivoltaics important? Not just to kind of help offset energy or energy, but income. There's this demolition of the power plants here in the Four Corners, as we all kind of maybe not everybody knows about, but the demolition of the smokestacks in Kirtland. And I know that they closed down one of the generation stations in Arizona. So the last generating station is the one that's actually in Farmington on the Navajo Nation, the Navajo generation generation station. So, and then if you haven't been out there in Kirtland, if you haven't been on that back road, this is called the San Juan Solar Project. So they want to make it 1 mile, about 8 miles. So if you go back there, there's already a huge array of solar panels. So again, with that, we'd like to, possibly work with these companies that are putting in these huge solar farms and working with them to see how maybe there's a way that we can kind of integrate agricultural systems in there, either if not crops, being able to put sheep or cattle underneath there. So that's kind of, again, one of the big reasons why there's a push, because of the energy transition that's happening here in the Four Corners. And this is a map that was shown again. So why is this important? These are all the different kind of solar systems that are on the Navajo Nation within the Four Corners. So you might not see them, but they're out there. They're individual homes. Some of them are in schools. Some of them are on businesses. So there's 450, and this map was created last year. So this part, it's probably increased most likely. I'm not sure the number on it yet, but as of last year, there was 450 different photovoltaic solar panel systems that are out there on the Navajo Nation. So example, and then another again. So why is this important? So there is organizations such as Navajo Power, which the industrial solar consultants, they're the ones that provided these pictures. So they're going out and putting these individual solar systems out in homes by hogans, on farms. And as you can see underneath there's a space. So that the box that you see on the right-hand side, the left side of the right-hand picture, that's where they put all the equipment. But underneath the solar panels, there's space. And so what they're finding is there's erosion underneath that's happening in these systems underneath those boxes. So by being able to place grow boxes underneath them, not only can we utilize that space, but we're actually helping these systems that would be in place by kind of stabilizing the soil with the roots, with the extra weight that's putting on there, and keeping these more stabilized. And just kind of wanted to show different kind of what solar can be used. The left, right hand side, you have people placing chicken coops underneath there. Again, even if you're not putting, you know, like agriculture in the sense of animals and crop production, even putting pollinator plants underneath solar panels, you can put beehives out there and collect the pollen. They're putting them over irrigation ditches, and then utilizing that space over the water and helping with that evaporation. And then on the lower left-hand corner is a solar pump. And so again, I mean, that one has a pull through the middle, but you could create a different system and have a grow box underneath that system as well. And then you could power your water wells. And then again, Navajo Nation is big on sheep, so we have electrical fences, and you can use the solar to power those. And in different countries, this one on the right hand corner is in Vietnam, where they're actually using it for like shrimp farms or fish farms. So there's different kind of production that you can use or place underneath the solar panels and utilize that energy. And so, last but not least, kind of acknowledgments. This was I was funded by the New Beginnings for Navajo Students at Dene College, as well as the Intermountain West Transformation Network through the National Science Foundation, and then the New Mexico Attorney General's Office. They funded New Mexico State University and created the Northwest New Mexico Agricultural Restoration Project, and they're the ones that gave me funding. So. I know this was supposed to go till 6:30, so we have about 10 minutes left for questions. And there's my email for anybody who wants to contact. So thank you.
Thank you, Emiliano. So we'll go ahead and take questions at this point. If any of you want to unmute, Terrell, I saw you.
Oh, I just said thank you. But I found
Oh,
the application to shrimp farms interesting. Um, I don't know if you know any of the research, but does shade help farm shrimp farms?
So what was that?
Does shade help fish farms like increase production? Does it decrease like competition with algae, or is there some type of what's the mechanism
Yes.
besides
Yeah,
or
kind
the
of what you
role of
just
shade?
Yeah, kind of what you just said with the algae. So by lowering the temperatures, you're keeping the algae growth, and then with that electricity, say there's not available electricity. So with the solar panels, you can use that electricity to circulate the water, maybe where it's stagnant, and that's kind of promotes algae growth as
Oh,
well. So you're helping lower the temperatures, and then you can put I guess you would call it like those air stones to kind of help circulate the water, which would keep them from algae from growing as well.
oh, cool. I found that pretty fascinating. I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I was thinking about terrestrial applications, but pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you.
um, any more questions from our audience tonight? My question, maybe I can have my question answered, and hopefully, some folks on here can have some questions that they're thinking of right now. But a lot of these folks are pretty much old-fashioned, and they wouldn't have the expertise to understand of like the equipment plans that you guys could possibly be providing. Do you guys work with ranchers in setting up like the solar equipment? Have you guys ever conducted research on that?
So
Like
no,
how?
we
Okay.
have not. Yeah, and that's been one of the big questions too. And I did the Solar Warriors program through Dene College. And so we did have some students in there specifically for that reason, because they had these older solar systems that were, at their grandmother's house or their grandparents' house,
Mhm.
and they wanted to be able to help with that. So I know like Native Renewables, or I think it's Native Renewables. There's one of the companies that's going out there and setting up these solar arrays, and they're like charging like $50 a month. So you think about it, I mean, $50 a month. I mean, Don't get me wrong, I don't get a Navajo Nation bill from NTUA, but I've heard it's kind of high. So to me, $50 a month to pay for like a maintenance fee for them to come and check stuff and be able to rate, kind of like an insurance policy, $50 a month is a lot cheaper than paying hundreds of dollars, even $100 a month. In utility bills. And so, but yeah, again, I mean, that's one of the things, even people that are like leaving the like the coal plants and generating stations. That's one of the things, they're maybe they don't want to learn a new skill, but that's the thing is it's happening anyways. And so, so we're not leaving people jobless. There is other training and like Dene College. I think the other one's Red Cloud. Red Cloud Solar, they're from out of South Dakota. They've actually reached out to people that I work with, trying to get students from the Navajo Nation to go up there and get the training. So they are trying to get, and these other companies that are doing work in the Navajo Nation, they want to get more Native students involved because they don't want to be hiring outside of the Navajo Nation. They want to, they want to hire within our communities. So there is a push for that as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough. I mean, it's going to be a tough topic no matter what. There's going to be these different things that are going on, but I see it as a positive. And again, that's the reason why we did the survey, because I didn't want to come in and push this technology if people weren't interested in it. But as you can see from the survey results, people are interested in it and do want to receive the training. And we did. I mean, that's the hard part with doing surveys is, you always don't get the responses that you need, especially with not having any kind of incentives. But we did try to get as many responses as we could, so that way we could, put this into the work that we're doing. But eventually, yeah, I mean, we would like to work with some of the companies that are coming out and doing those, and maybe working with ranchers. But again, this is like the the prereq that's going right now. Even the solar system that we're putting in, that we're just calling it phase one. So we're just barely beginning. But this is again going to be like the first kind of it is so far the first kind of agrivoltaic research that's been done in the Four Corners. And then we want to be we want to be a training center. We want to be help the community, then not just with installation, knowing how to work the systems, but where they can receive resources on how they could fund the projects as well.
Okay. That was just out of curiosity. I know that some people that are, optimistic may want to opt to install, new solar power wells and see how that will benefit their operations. And there's some that just wants to stick with, the windmill and pumping water in and out. But, I just thought like I would ask to see that would, if you know any other publications that would relate to that. I wouldn't mind reading on it as well, just kind of looking back at your research of like makes me wonder like the size of how many panel could, help operate a well. I know everyone's tank will be all different various sizes, like how much power can this solar pump, from one location to the next pasture? Examples like that. I was just thinking about it.
It is kind of customized to individual's home, what they're using.
Uh-huh.
And like I did speak with Gallup Solar, and they're kind of installing like these energy efficient refrigerators, kind of in the name of the name of health for like elderly or just people that live out there in the Hogans that don't have access to the power grid. And so by putting up a simple one or two panels, which could cost a couple $100s, a few $100s to install these systems. So if they're just running those small refrigerators, running their radio, or energy efficient television, or there's some small items for the Hogan, this actually works really well. But yeah, when you get more complicated, if you have a air conditioner, a heater, all these other kind of things, it can get, then you'll need a bigger system, and it does get a little more expensive.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's something that again, that's why I mentioned the cost analysis, because that's something that I would really have liked to have done. But we do want to work with these different companies, these agencies, these organizations that are helping with that. But like Native Renewables, they just had a webinar recently to kind of help go over that math, and so that's something that I would be able to, to work with people if they came to me and asked me, hey, can we do the math? Can we see how large of a system would I need? And then see how much kind of do a
Mm.
cost analysis. And it's kind of have to be like personalized individual homes, to be able to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Mill. Folks on here, I see Mary, your mic is unmuted. Do you have a question?
I do. Hi, Emiliano. Glad to hear all the wonderful things that you're doing. And just so the participants know, Emiliano and I are from the same Shoshone tribe. We're in northeastern Nevada. And my question to you, Emiliano, is can you come back home and give us some of these workshops, particularly how to perhaps combat climate change and how this agrovoltaics is very helpful. And then I'd also like to know, in your experience, do you know of any other tribes in Nevada doing what you're doing? Because I'm not really tied into throughout the state, but I don't know what's going on with the agriculture here in Nevada. But if you can answer those questions, and I want to invite you to our annual treaty conference, and hopefully we can work something out. But I'd really like to know if you can provide these types of workshops, because I feel like it would be very beneficial. And the fact that we're in a land back uh, project with one of the ranching communities in central Nevada, where it's a very remote. We, a group of Native organizations and nonprofits, want to establish maybe starting out small scale gardening and farming and so forth. But really, what you bring to this table, I think, is really helpful in the land back project that we're involved with. There's
Yeah.
no electricity in this there's nothing. It's very remote. So yeah, really would love to learn more.
Okay. Yeah, no, thank you, Mary. Thank you for joining us as well. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like going out and getting my education. That's always in the back of my mind, right? As I help different tribal communities, I want to be able to bring that back home. And so yeah, I'll be able to present and come over and come to my home community and do a workshop and all that. Very much so. So we'll work on that a little bit later. But yeah, so as far as Nevada goes, I know that there's kind of small scales. I know that Tribal Energy Solutions, I believe they're called. They were just out at the powwow. They had a booth there. They were a vendor at the powwow recently, and I know that they kind of done some parking lot. I think they're at the Alco Indian Colony. I think they put in some solar panels up there, help with that. So they are pushing movement, but nothing with agrivoltaics yet. And so that's kind of like we're kind of, even when I first came into this program, that was kind of the concept between my late mentor, Nanava Lane. She works at Navajo Ethno. She's the one that invited me into the Navajo Nation. And so with that idea, she actually wanted me to become like a liaison, working between the solar companies, these organizations, and help bringing them to other tribes. But yeah, I'm more than yeah, more than happy to be able to come out and help with the ranch that you guys got back from the land back movement. So that's always on the back of my mind. And but I know there's other tribes. They got like microgrids over there in California. I believe it's a Blue Lake rancheria out there. I met a gentleman from out there in Minnesota they have like a agriculture thing, and or not agriculture but a solar thing, and they're trying to integrate agrivoltaics into their system. So it's a slowly process, and that's kind of the reason why I mentioned the research, mentioned those kind of things, because it is up and coming. It is a rather new subject topic in science as well. So, but as we kind of move along, I hope to be a part of that movement. Because what I always kind of say is when we think about food, energy, sovereignty, really, when tribes, we're all about sovereignty. One of the big things we have to think about is energy sovereignty. Like that's a big thing. Like when we think about what sovereignty really means and what it really is, we need energy sovereignty as well, not only food sovereignty. So the sovereignty. So this gives us that food sovereignty, the energy sovereignty, and in a way, kind of water sovereignty as well, with helping moderate the water use.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch. Thank you. Proud of your work. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Do we have any, we can take one more question. If not, then that will conclude our tonight's presentation. I'll wait less than a minute. Okay. All right then. Well, we'll go ahead and conclude it there. So Emiliano, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to provide us this presentation. It looks a lot, but I'm really happy to see that it's going to be incorporated at the research center. So I can't wait to visit there and actually, witness your work. So we're pretty stoked. So this coming field day, I believe. Oh, do you want to talk a little bit more about that field day?
Oh, the field day you said?
Yes.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's on July 24th. So that's between 9 and 1. And so we have last year we had about 350 participants. We have a number of vendors. You can come out to the Science Center, tour the different research plots as well as the pivots out there, and kind of see the different crops that we're researching. We have a live band. We provide lunch. We have catered. I think we're doing a barbecue. We usually do like a barbecue. So yeah, it's just an eventful day. We try to get like council delegates out there and people, high positions in the Navajo Nation, as well as people from the university. So we do have kind of I guess, higher level participants that usually come out, but a lot of community members as well. We have schools. We invite schools coming out, and then in September, maybe I'll send it to you later. We do invite students to come out and do pumpkin patch picking, so for free the students can come out and pick all the pumpkins they want. And then yeah, so we have a couple of great events, and then I'll go ahead and forward the flyer to you, Mikkel, and then you can put them on social media. But yeah, it's on July 24th from 9 to 1 p.m.
And if you have the flyer to that field day, I wouldn't mind sharing it on our platform too. So if you by chance get a hold of one.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
All right. Thank you, Emiliano. You're more than happy to stick around. We're just going to be talking about events that are going to be coming up for this month, but you're more than welcome to close out if you want.
Okay, thank you. We'll see y'all later.
Thank you. All right. I'm not too sure how to maximize this, but we'll just go ahead and roll with it. So before you all decide to take off, let me go ahead and release my poll. So if you don't mind, there will be a pop-up of a poll that will show up in front of your screen. So it will take no later than 2 minutes to complete that poll. So if you guys don't mind completing it, rate your understanding from before and after the webinar, and if you're wanting to implement this type of equipment into your operation, and any additional comments like future topics and and chapter affiliation of county. So if you're not from the Navajo Nation, just put down what county or city that you're coming from. It just shows us where our education is basically, outreached at. So if you're from the reservation, insert what chapter you're from, or closer to the chapter you're at. So with that being said, I see some of you filling out the poll, so thank you. While some of you are filling it out, I'll go ahead and talk about our future events. So next week, if you are around in Farmington area, we do have a herd health and rangeland workshop. This is taking place at Kirtland much of you that are local, you may have taken your cows to the cow house auction, your sheep, your horses. So this is where it's going to be held on June 17th, starting at 9 a.m. and we should be concluding roughly around about 4 p.m. So please ignore that time from 5:30 to 6:30. That's a typo. So that is only pertaining to our webinars. So just kind of some ideas to think about is this one is pertaining to ranchers and grazing permit holders. If you're a cattle producer and you are planning to put your bull in the herd, what type of pre-breeding nutrition, such as supplements that you want to incorporate into your operation for your pregnant mamas. So we do have some of our specials coming from the main campus to talk about nutrition, as well as body scoring condition and how that is important to implement in your cattle operation, and just kind of how to visualize how to use a body condition score on your cattle. So that's pretty interesting and beneficial for you as ranchers, as well as New World screwworm and avian influenza update. So this New World screwworm has been lingering around in New Mexico, and it has been appearing in areas where cattle are basically all livestock and domestic animals have open wounds, or they're really, really ill. These screwworms are practically, you know, are getting the attention from these ill livestock to bury themselves in the flesh, and you know how that goes. So I'm not going to go any further than that, but it's been around for a couple months now, and it we would have an update on this from our livestock specialist and how you can identify these screwworms as well as how to manage them. We do have another one on rangeland plant ID and monitoring method. For those of you that are on here, you may want to, take interest in this. They will be covering what type of inventory assessment that you can apply to your rangeland health, as well as plant identification here on the reservation, like what cool grasses are there to look out for, as well as warm season grasses, shrubs, telling the difference between those species. And last but not least, we will be concluding with our local USDA FSA program. And this will be provided by our FSA director coming from the Aztec office in Farmington. And she's going to go over some local programs that are open, and she's going to encourage, producers to look into it. And if it's in your wheelhouse, then, what's the process of getting you applied as local producers. So if you're interested, swing on by. I do encourage everyone to scan that QR code. Or if you're on your computer, just go ahead and scan it, and it'll take you directly to a survey tab. And if you can complete that, I would really appreciate it. Or if you have trouble having to register, let me know. My contact information is right below on the flyer. So just go ahead and email me, and I'd be happy to help you and walk it through with you. So it will be also located on our website as well. If not, if you don't complete it, that's totally fine. Just come on by in person and we'll get you situated and fill all the questions out. Okay. So as I was talking about New World Screwworm, we do have its own webinar. And this one will be on June 26th of next week on Thursday. So it's been spreading, like I've mentioned, not just in New Mexico, but it's also spreading in the neighboring states. So it would be beneficial for those of you that are ranchers, sheep producers, you name it, for your domestic pets. So this is something that I highly suggest that you guys be a part of. So it will be presented by Samantha Holick. She is the state veterinarian for the New Mexico Livestock Board. So the NMLB, not NMLV. So she is the state veterinarian for New Mexico Livestock Board, and she's going to be providing this presentation. So it's not going to take the whole hour, unless it will be. So it will be just kind of a 30-minute presentation for her to go over how to identify these screwworms as well as management. Then the rest of it, maybe 30 minutes, could possibly be on Q&As. So for all our webinars, for those of you that are new, these are required. So registration is required. And I'll go ahead and go over with you where to complete the registration. So we do have a conservation planning program that we partnered with Dene College Land Grant Office. So this is for providing assistance to individuals such as grazing permit holders and farm operators. If you are located in the Eastern or Northern Navajo Agency, you're pretty much have to have a completed conservation plan along with other documents that you have to submit to BIA. So we all know how these conservation plans can be a little bit complicated. So we do have technicians on our team to assist you for free how to complete these conservation plans. So if you are in need of assistance, and she's actually on here, Miss Shirley Toth, she will be the person that you would talk to get some assistance on that. And her email is toth@nmsu.edu. Okay, so we're on the last slide now, and I'll let you guys all go. So we're located on Facebook. That's where all of our upcoming events are shared, as well as KTNN. All of our webinars are recorded and shared onto our YouTube platform channel. So just go ahead and put in the URL Navajo Sustainable Agriculture Project, and it'll take you directly to our channel. We're pretty late on our bi-monthly newsletter, so we apologize. Some of you on here are pretty much, asked where our newsletters are, but just so you know, we're pretty backed up, but we will get that sent out soon. So if you are wanting some help to get you signed up for Herd Health, let me know. My email is there. My name is Mikhail Silversmith, and if you are in need of assistance with CPs, Miss Shirley Toth's on there as well. And our website is updated, so head on over to that website at nsa.nmsu.edu, and you'll see all of our upcoming events, who our team is, what we do, who we are as a project, directory to USDA field offices, you name it. So I will go ahead and end it here. So thank you everyone for filling out the poll. I really appreciate it. I'll be looking at it. I do look at your comments, so thank you everyone for your time. And you guys have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. we are known as the Navajo Sustainable Agriculture Project. In short, we're called the NSA Project. We are a New Mexico Cooperative Extension Service under NMSU, and we collaborate with both Dene College Land Grant Office as well as HOPE, which stands for Community Outreach and Patient Empowerment. Our project today, our project is funded by the USDA Outreach and Assistance for Native Farmers and Ranchers and Veteran Farmers and Ranchers program. So my mouse is not cooperating. All right, so moving on now to the third slide, and this is going to be my final slide before I hand the floor over to Mill. So we deliver in-person workshops and webinars that are, tailored to producers' needs based on feedbacks that we gather from each session. It doesn't matter whether it's a webinar, some of you that are on here, you've completed our polls before. Those are the polls that we look at to see what more topics that we should be covering for you guys to take a deep dive into. And that will be the same for workshops. When we attend in person, we do give you guys a survey at the end to see how you understand these topics that we present, as well as what's complicated, what you know more of. Is there anything that we need to improve on or we need to touch base on? So that will pretty much set us throughout the year of how our education platform will be laid out. So previously, we've been hosting, as far as in-person workshops, livestock record keeping. We did complete one of our livestock first aid, and we did have some food preservations. We have a lot of other webinars as well that will go back from lambing preparation, what type of supplements that you need to provide to your pregnant ewes. What else is there? There's also range and forage, permit compliance, all done from the Navajo Nation Department of Agriculture. So those are the type of information that we provide, and we're basically the platform for our project partners as well of what they want to share with their producers. Another essential goal of ours is to help increase our producers' knowledge in USDA programs that you see here on the second bullet point. All of you on here are pretty much aware of NRCS and FSA and what they provide. A little bit on rural development and risk management agency programs. So many of you are familiar with NRCS and FSA, such as forage drought loss assistance, crop disaster assistance. So through our virtual resource fairs that we have provided before, we give USDA local field offices the platform to share, their program details. So ranchers and farmers can learn how to access support, that aligns with their needs. So such as equip through NRCS and drought loss assistance through FSA. So this year we hope to aim for an in-person event and maybe have not just USDA, but also NNDA to provide any information on their agriculture infrastructure fund that I know all of you on here may be pretty much aware about, that helps you through your livestock operation and your gardening and crop operation as well. We're also proud to offer a conservation planning program in collaboration with Nate College Land Grant. I'll touch base on this later at the end and how you can get assistance on that. So that is basically free to develop a basic conservation plans with one of our technicians. Lastly, on this last bullet point, we focus on increasing local fresh food production in the areas that we serve, which is McKinley, San Juan, and Cibola counties. With our gardening projects, we've been collaborating with most of our experts that are, coming from Cope, Dene College, land grant, and majority of our horticulture specialists coming from New Mexico State University. So some of you that are on here, you may have attended some webinars that Carol Palmer from Cope has done a lot of rainwater catchment systems. She has a very unique take on a lot of items that could be around your house so you can implement into your gardening. So we did have her. We do also have Martha, Miss Thompson from NMSU to touch base on gardening, spring vegetable preparation, and such. And Dene College land grant, Daryl Yazzie from LGO, who touched base on hoop houses. So we use a lot of these expertise, and overall, we're pretty happy to share more in-person workshops tailored to gardening and crop